We're going to talk about non-revenue water loss. And being the first episode, it's kind of interesting. The guest who is supposed to join us has not logged on yet, so this is kind of fun. Anyway, the format, we're calling it Tailgate Talk. We're going to have guests each week to talk about waterworks, manufacturing, engineering, standards, certifications, construction, distribution, utilities, service, anything like that you guys want to talk about. If you have people you know that you would recommend be a guest on here, certainly feel free to contact John or myself, and we'll get that set up. We're going to do about 2 of these a month is the plan right now. However, if this one crashes, it may be the last. Anyway, our goal here is to be who AVK turns to for solutions, not just products. And we feel we manufacture the best valves and hydrants under earth. We also have a complete line of butterfly valves, check valves, etc. Tailgate Talks, your one-stop shop for AVK needs. And in this episode, we're going to have John Wilber and then a gentleman named Michael Rosenberg Pederson from the WTA. And originally, we were also going to maybe have some utilities that Michael's been working with, but he just flew in late last night from Denmark, and that's part of the reason we're having the technical difficulties. So that being said, I guess right now what we'll do, John, is we'll talk a little bit about the questions that we have for you at this point. And the primary or initial question is we've talked a little bit in the past about AVK's potential role in offering products that can prevent water loss. And first, we'll say the AVK Series 66. Can you give the audience a little bit of input about how it can create a leak-free joint when it's fused to HDPE pipe?
Well, I can give it a shot. This is my first tailgate talk, so we'll see how I do. So if you guys can go to the handouts and download the Series 66 data sheet, take a look at it, you can see a little bit about what we're talking about. The AVK Series 66 valve is a ductile iron gate valve, which for the most part complies with AWWAC 515, except for the valve ends, which are high density polyethylene. And we can do these valves from 2 inches all the way up to 16 inches now, and AVK in Denmark is now manufacturing up to 24 inches. And the best thing about a HDPE fusible valve is that you can directly fuse it into a PE water system, which has either butt fuse joints or joints that are made with electrofusion couplings. And if they're done properly and installed carefully, then you have a joint that will not leak. And you also have a piping system that will not corrode and will not rust. So from that point of view, the AVK Series 66 valve is one of our major product offerings to prevent leaks in the water distribution system.
And then in the meantime, I thought I'd mention a reminder. AVK's YouTube channel is American AVK, and that's one word. Make sure you're a subscriber. We have a full suite. There are videos on maintenance, installation, learning bursts, any kind of important industry topic relevant to AVK. And we've also got our webinars on there. And so moving on, John, we will try one more question here as we wait on Michael. And so a couple months ago, we were discussing non-revenue water examples with staff. Can you give us a little bit of an example here as far as water loss from a wet barrel hydrant and what happens if it's hit by a car?
Yeah, you guys have probably all seen in the movies where a fire hydrant gets knocked off and you get this big jet of water shooting up into the sky, which with a dry barrel fire hydrant isn't going to be what you get. That's a little bit of literary license in the movie. But if you have a wet barrel fire hydrant, which is always charged and always on and always pressurized, and you knock that off in an accident, you will get quite a geyser. So the AVK Series 24/88 wet barrel fire hydrant check valve is a bidirectional check valve, and you can probably download the handout there too, which will stop flow back into the system in case anything wants to try and enter the system through the fire hydrant. And when it's knocked off, I've got a video here. I'll give it a shot.
Here, I'm going to try it now. So here we go. We'll see if it'll replay, John. Ooh,
Didn't.
it did not.
Here we go. So that is a wet barrel fire hydrant, which is pressurized being hit by a big old truck, which I happen to be driving, which was a heck of a lot of fun because I've never been able to run over a fire hydrant before. And instead of getting that big geyser, you get those two little jets of water, which are there to primarily indicate that there is a fire hydrant that has been knocked off. And those two jets also help to reduce the water hammer you would get from a check valve Simon closed a little bit. So if a hydrant is knocked off and it's fully charged and it's a 6-inch line and it's shooting up into the air, you're losing about 8,000 gallons a minute if you're at 65 or 70 psi, which in 40 minutes, if the water utility needs to show up and shut it off, is about 320,000 gallons. That's a lot of water. At $1 a buck 1,000 gallons, that's $320,000 the water utility just lost. So the wet barrel fire hydrant check valve does a really good job of preventing that water loss. So if you live in a system which has wet barrel fire hydrants, you might want to take a look at that.
Yeah, well, thank you. And awesome news here. Michael was able to join us. Hello, Michael. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing fine, thank you. A little technical issues, but that's how it is.
Oh, that's fine. Your timing was perfect. What we did, we covered some of the questions I had for John Wilber first. And I guess now at this point, can you just tell us a little bit about the WTA and what it is you do at the WTA and what the WTA's mission is?
Yes, of course. Well, the WTA, it stands actually for the Water Technology Alliance. And it's in general a strategic collaboration between Denmark and US. The main goal is sort of building bridges between North American and Danish water sectors with an aim of sharing knowledge, know-how, and foster collaboration. And we sort of cover the whole water cycle from water resource management, water distribution, sewer systems, and also wastewater treatment.
Okay.
The thing that we do actually is that we host workshops and seminars, and we also really like doing field trips to meet water utilities and share experiences and ideas and so on. And sometimes when things were normal back in the days before COVID, we also did fact-finding tours to Denmark, so colleagues on both sides of the Atlantic could sort of meet and collaborate. Okay. We also try to do more or facilitate more concrete collaboration, sort of pilot projects and so on. So in general, just to make it short, it's a Danish outreach program where we try to provide specialist know-how on water technologies, and we do that by having key employees from leading Danish water utilities and put over in North America, and I'm one of them. I have a background in the Danish water utility. I'm on 3 years.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about, the utility you work for in Denmark, the size of the utility, and I believe, don't you also teach at the university there a little bit as well?
Yeah, I do, and I'm in the second largest city in Denmark, and it's not that big a city, but in Danish context it is. Yeah, it's around 300,000, and the city is actually growing a lot. It's a city with a university, so the big cities in Denmark are also expanding, and also actually going from heavy industry to more and more residential areas. So transforming the old harbor area into to apartments and livable areas. That's one of the things that we do.
So how do you say the name of the town you're from there, Michael?
Yeah, it is called Aarhus. So
Aarhus.
it's in Denmark. We have a couple of extra letters to use, So it actually means river mouth. So where the river runs into the ocean, and it's an old Viking name. But it's the second largest city, and it's in the mainland of Denmark, a couple of maybe 100 miles from the border to Germany.
So how's non-revenue water loss in Aarhus compare to what you're seeing since you've been in the United States?
Yeah, it's a little bit different because Denmark, we are a very small country, and we are sort of known worldwide for a couple of things. One of them is that we are very happy nation. So people in Denmark are generally very happy, it seems. But we're also very taxed. So we pay a lot of tax for all the money that we make. And that's sort of funny that we are very happy, but we're still overtaxed. But I think that has sort of led to a strong regulation of water utilities, among other things, because we are very proud of being very transparent in Denmark. So if I pay my taxes and I know what the money I use for, then I'll do it. I'll gladly do it. So that's one of the things that we have always been used to being very much regulated. So for over the last 10 years, there has been a fine for water utilities if the non-revenue water exceeded more than 10% of the total water. And if you're fined as a water utility, it actually hurts. So you have to pay a fine, and then you lose a lot of money that you cannot invest in doing things more efficient.
What's the fine equate to, Michael? I mean, what in US dollars on a utility, say your size with 300,000 people, if you exceeded 10%, what would the fine be?
Yeah, and it depends on the amount of water that you provide. But it would the budget that we are operating with, it would actually be quite a bit. So actually, we would have to either lay off people, or we would actually have to adjust our
Wow.
investments. So
Okay.
it is actually something that all utilities have been very much aware of, and it has also actually started this trend that 10%, that is just a number,
Sure.
So we would actually like to do it even better and better and better. So I think over the 10 years we have had this sort of regulation, we have actually realized that we will just like to reduce the non-revenue water as much as we can, because it's good business.
Yeah. Well, I thought I'd throw in here, we are happy people too, but yesterday was tax day, so we're probably not as happy as we could have been. But anyway, a couple questions for you here. We'll just move on. Representative-wise, the WTA, how many people do you have in the U.S. Currently, and where are they located at?
Yeah, we are around 10 persons on and off, and we are located at the Danish consulates. So that's in Chicago. We have wastewater people located in Chicago, specialists in wastewater. We have people in Houston, Silicon Valley, where I'm at, and also in New York, and at the Danish embassy in Washington, D.C. And again, it's a combination of technical and commercial advisors. So I'm one of the technical ones from a Danish water utility, and we also have people sort of helping us in doing our jobs, because we would like the technical guys, we would really like to go and meet our colleagues out in the field. So we need some backup as well.
So by the way, Davis here is saying that you're from the home of Absolute Vodka.
Yeah, maybe. I think Absolute Vodka, isn't it Finnish? But we're very close.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
so another thing here, you've been working with some cities, and do you have, if you don't, that's fine. I just wondered if you had any examples of collaboration with, I know you've got, you just signed a MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with the City of Houston, and you've got, I think, some with LA. Do you have any other utilities that you're working with at this time?
Yeah, we do, and it's because we have been working for around 6 years in US, and we started out in Chicago and in California as well. And the reason why we started in California was because of the drought, and we sort of made the first MOU with the state of California with a focus on introducing and helping them map the groundwaters and the water resources in California. And due to that work, there's a lot of utilities in California that we have been working together with. Some of them are the coast. Yeah, sorry.
No, that's fine. So I guess at this point, can you explain a little bit about the Memorandum of Understanding? What exactly is entailed there? And then once a city signs that with you, I realize you're doing some reciprocating. They can come over to Denmark and see your facilities, but what all's involved there?
Yeah, and the memorandum of understandings are a little different because depending on which city and which area. So we have a huge one with the state of California, and it is sort of both on governmental level. So the EPA in California State Water Board and Department of Water Resources are working together with the Danish Environmental Protection Agency. So there is a collaboration where they sort of share how do we regulate in Denmark and in California. And then there is the utility things and collaboration that I'm part of, where we sort of share how we are addressing non-revenue water. And non-revenue water in California is a big thing because of the lack of water resources in general. So there's a lot of things where we can sort of share ideas. And then if we go to Houston, so the city of Houston and the city of Copenhagen, so that's a city-to-city collaboration. And what we are doing there is more specific because the city of Houston have some issues that they would like to address and ask sort of us to help or work together with them in solving these issues or getting some input to it. Yeah,
I set in on that when they signed the MOU, and it sounds like one of the things they're looking at is also flooding there. It's a huge issue, obviously, in Houston when they have excessive rain.
Yeah. And that's also why we have the Danish water utility from the capital in Denmark in Copenhagen. So the two cities, they have sort of some of the similar issues with flooding as well. So how do they actually plan for flooding and preventing of the flooding in Copenhagen, and how do they do the same in Houston? I know it's different areas, but there's still a lot of things to learn. And on water distribution, we are looking into to non-revenue water as well. So how do we, what are the experiences in Denmark, and is there any shortcuts or things that we have tried that didn't work out, or is there anything we could test in a specific area of Houston? That's sort of what we are working on. So after the signing, because that's the official ceremony with the mayors and the ambassador and so on, we sort of start digging into the problems and having workshops where we put people together to address different issues. And then hopefully out of these workshops, there will be some specific pilots or testing. And again, the aim is, of course, to collaborate and to help and give input to City of Houston with the problems that they are facing.
Okay, so one last question about this part, the MOU. If we do have some cities listening in, if they were interested in in talking to your group about this? I mean, can just anybody do this, or how do you handle that collaboration?
Yeah, US is very big, but again, we would actually always like to discuss and have inputs. And if anybody out there is interested in any way, we are spread around at the different consulates, and I'm used to traveling. That means my predecessor were used to traveling around US, and now COVID is hopefully going in the right direction. I would love to go and meet people around US as well. For now, I'm focusing on California because that's where I live, and Houston as well. And wastewater are also focusing around Chicago and also in California. So we are trying to sort of cover everything. So please don't hesitate, reach out, and let's take it from there.
Okay, so if anybody does ever want to get in touch with Michael, I can certainly give you his contact information. And Michael, we're kind of getting near the end here. We're a little over 23 minutes, so I thank you for joining us today. Lastly, feel free to let everybody know any projects or events you haven't coming up that the audience may be interested in. So, do you have anything like that, Michael, coming up? Any webinars or anything of that nature?
Yeah, actually, we have a webinar tomorrow. It's a current webinar where we are addressing, again, non-revenue water on different angles. So there will be some pitches from Danish or vendors or ways to solve different issues, because non-revenue water there's usually not a quick fix. It's something that you have to look at or attack in different ways. So that's sort of the thing that we will talk about tomorrow at current webinar.
Okay, and Lena's saying, what technology do you use for identifying non-revenue water, district metering, master metering? What all do you guys utilize?
Yeah, and again, there's no quick fix, but district meter areas, that's one of the things we have been working with a lot of years, and it's of course an expensive way of doing it, but actually when it's up and running and we have just implemented it in most of our areas, then we can actually make all these different water balances throughout our system, and we take these data and we put it into some data analytics as well. So we actually get some help from some data analytics, some AI and machine learning as well. So in general, we are trying to be more proactive instead of reactive. So the aim is that we actually know when there is a leak before people are calling in about a burst or something like that. So we're doing leak detection. We're doing DMAs, district meter areas, and mass balances, and we have help from analytics as well. And we are also sort of investing in high quality components, because the cost of ownership seems to be one of the things that we have been working with a lot. So the asset management part is also what we're sort of trying to combine a lot of different methods to get this very low non-revenue water.
Okay, well, and then I have another question here. What's the biggest similarity between utilities in the U.S. and Denmark? And then maybe what's the biggest difference? In other words, the way we produce water here, where we use surface water or groundwater, and then anything that you notice that are big differences and or big similarities.
Well, the similarities is quite obvious, because we have the same goal as a utility. We have to produce water of high quality and deliver it at a specific pressure to our customers. So that's sort of the same. Then we have all the differences. For instance, in Denmark, we are not allowed to do any disinfection. So that means we have a history of looking into our distribution network and our production. So we are actually, the production is more like if you produce in a dairy or if you're brewing beers or something like that. So a Danish utility, we have a very closed system all the way from the resource, and that's 100% groundwater in Denmark, all the way through to the customers. Because if it's a closed system with a higher pressure inside than outside, if there is a leak or our water that are not allowed to be disinfected will go out instead of anything going into our water and polluting it. So
that's pretty amazing. So in the U.S., we normally at least chlorinate and aerate, but you're saying in some applications there you don't.
No, we are not allowed to do any advanced treatment, and that's again the way that we are regulated in Denmark. Because we can actually remove everything from the water. We can change the water completely down to only oxygen and hydrogen or whatever. So it's completely clean. But the way that we do it in Denmark is that if we are not allowed to do any advanced treatment, then we have to go and protect our resources. So that has been the whole idea by having these regulations. You're not allowed to do any advanced in the water utilities, so you have to go and protect the resource. So that's one of the things that we have been working with for so many years, finding out where are the groundwater resources and how do we protect them? How do we make collaboration agreements with the land users so we can still produce a lot of, have a lot of farming and industry as well, but still have clean groundwater for the future. And of course, we know that there are a period of time in the 70s and back in time where we used a lot of pesticides, and we also have problems with it, but we're trying to handle it and then make sure that the water in the future will be clean.
Okay. Well, I think at this point we'll go ahead and bring this to a close. Do you have anything else that you want to add, Michael, before we close?
Yeah, of course. I'm located in US for 3 years. I'm on leave from a Danish water utility, and I'm also here to learn. So whenever things are getting back to more normal, I would of course like to go and learn from my colleagues at the American utilities. So I'm looking forward to hit the road at some time and go visit the utilities, because I, as a utility operator, I know that that you have to be on duty 24 hours a day and running these huge utilities, and the big cities in US. It's always amazing for me as from a small city that you can actually manage and operate these huge utilities. So I'm looking forward to getting out there and meeting people.
All right. Well, that's good, and we certainly appreciate you joining today. If you go to Handouts, I believe, let's see, Anne, were you able to load any images of the, no, for the shirts? So yeah, Michael, under the handout, you'll get a AVK shirt and an AVK hat, and anybody that participates in Tailgate Talk in the future will also get those as well. And I would encourage anybody that has ideas about topics for Tailgate Talk to get in touch with us. Send us a note, give us some feedback. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know if you think this is a good idea or not. We're just trying to make these more interactive than a standard webinar and talk about relevant matters. So we do have a couple really good ones coming up. Anne, do you want to share with them the next two that are coming up? I believe it's one on hydrant chronology and the other on the AVK field assist.
Yep, you did it. That's okay. The next two. Next
and
week
what are
we
the
have
dates?
Maintenance and on the how to change out the main valve, but that will be a webinar. And then after that, we'll go to the evolution of the hydrant and have a full panel of experts talking about the hydrant and how we got to where we are today. And then the next one will be the AVK Field Assist, which we're really excited about and has been working well. So,
okay. Well, we will stay on for a few more minutes. We thank everybody for joining today. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And otherwise, you can contact us individually later. But I again thank everybody for joining, and that's it.